Team leader for community affairs, working with Jeff Garrison.
And I'm Claire Mills, Associate Regional Counsel. I'm working on Virgin Islands projects, including home asthma.
Rick Ruvo from the Clear Programs Branch.
Steve Riva, I'm Chief of the Air Permitting Section, which would oversee any Title V permit that DPNR would produce for Hovenza, as well as any PST permit, which we would issue in the event there was construction at the facility.
Doug Pax, I deal with ocean, general ocean, EPA ocean issues in the Caribbean.
Charles LeBeau, I'm with the Dredging Sediment and Oceans team.
Pat Evangelista with the Regional Administrator's Office. Mark Matalani, I'm a toxicologist. Guy Lavinia, Compliance Branch.
Melodiga Faria, Compliance Branch.
Sebastian Public Affairs.
Okay, I think that's it from our New York office. Did you have somebody else, Dave?
No, we're done. That's it. Anybody else comes on?
Yeah. Jim Casey, are you on? All right. With just one last admin note, Ms. Mason, we got your agenda. Thank you much for adjusting to allow Steve Riva, Charles LeBeau, and Douglas Pass will be leaving earlier at 2 o'clock. So I don't have anything else. I pass it on to you as facilitator.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate the EPA staff actually taking the time out of their day to actually meet with me and the other callers that I had invited as well. And I'll just go over those individuals' names who's supposed to have been on the call, and hopefully they'll join us in a few minutes. Again, my name is Renee Mason, and I'm not representing any company. I'm merely an advocate for healthy air. I also had 2 other individuals, one by the name of Miss Brown, who is also an advocate, and another gentleman by the name of Feli. I also have Mr. Michael Monure, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Again, he is the community liaison and the legislative researcher, and he is representing Senator O'Reilly in her absence. Then Ryan Nugent, he's supposed to be attending this call as well, and he is the chief of staff, and he will be representing Senator Buckley Stead. Okay, now that we went through the introductions, I would like to also establish some basic courtesy conference call protocols. You guys are aware of the protocols on the conference system. However, if anyone on my panel, if you have any type of background noise, I'm going to please ask that you use the *6 to mute your call. And don't forget that if you want to speak, you can actually unmute by pressing #6. EPA is also aware that I had opted for this call to be recorded. So this call is being recorded at this time to adhere to any type of state laws that requires that it must be disclosed. Last but not least, I'm going to ask that because I am not familiar with the voice recognitions of individuals, that you state your name before you speak, because I'm not familiar with anyone on this call at this time outside of the advocates that I work with. All right, so that being said, I am now to the fiduciary positions. Jeff, basically, I don't want this question to be offensive by no stretch of the imagination. It's just that I need a clear understanding, even if I can go to the EPA website. I need to just know what is the fiduciary responsibility ultimately for the EPA when it comes to the clean air within the Virgin Islands.
Somebody in New York want to handle that?
We're not clear on that question.
Okay, I'll give you an example, okay? I'll give you an example of what I'm asking for. I am an advocate for healthy air. My fiduciary responsibility lies with human beings, mankind, and foremost my children, because my children actually have to breathe the air that we live in. So any type of advocacy that I'm going to put forth within society, those are the people that I have in mind for me being what they would call a humanitarian or advocate. So I'm just asking, what is the fiduciary responsibility on the end of EPA? I understand you could send me to the website, but I just need that a verbal, this brief discussion if you can.
This is Rick Rubo from the Air Programs Grant. From an air quality perspective, it's EPA's obligation to work with the Virgin Islands Department of Planning and Natural Resources to implement the Clean Air Act. And primarily our focus is to make sure that the national ambient air quality standards that EPA establishes are being met by the local air districts. And at this time, all of the Virgin Islands is meeting all of our national ambient air quality standards for smog and sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. And that's our primary obligation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to begin with the topics that's listed on my agenda. Jeff, due to the fact that we have two individuals that will be leaving us shortly, I'll start with the Hovensa permit / consent decree. Now, one of the questions that I have, you did answer my question, but I just need for it to be elaborated on just a little bit more. I need to know. Say that again.
I think someone joined us.
Okay.
Someone just joined? Yes, I did.
Okay,
Hello, good afternoon.
okay. That's okay. Gentlemen and ladies, that is Feli. He is an advocate for healthy air as well. All right, thank you. Okay.
Welcome.
The first. It's a.
Excuse me, is that Feli or Eli? Could you spell it, please? F-E-E-L-I.
Okay.
I think, Ms. Mason, what would help, I can send you a list of everyone who participated on this call with their correct spellings, and you can do likewise for me that way.
Oh, no problem.
If there's any follow-up needed.
Okay, sure, no problem. I can do that as well, okay? The first topic will be the Hovensa permit and the consent decree. The question I have is, does Hovensa still hold their current permit while in negotiation at this time? But before I begin, let me stop and just say, this question is in 3 parts. So I'll go ahead and just state my questions, and then you can have the time to just answer them. Or would you like for me to state one question at a time? Which one?
I think easier for us if you do one question at a time.
Okay, so does Hovensa still hold their current permits while in negotiation at this time?
This is Steve Riva. There are several permits that are on the table now. The existing PSC permits are still valid, even though the facility is not in operation. The permits that they applied for have been withdrawn that relate to the consent order, and that since the facility has shut down, there is no need to process them. With regard to the Title V permit issued by DPNR, that's still in effect and will remain in effect, and the company can maintain their permits active even though they are not actually producing any product and they can do that for years if there's some anticipation that they will start up. But prior to startup, they're going to have to demonstrate that there are no modifications that would result in a significant increase in emissions, and obviously update any changes in their Title V permit.
Yeah, and the Title V permit, I believe, is being revised. My name is Claire Mills, Associate Regional Counsel. Their Title V permit is currently being revised to include the CD terms and to update it with improvements and revisions that reflect omissions that have been in the previous permit.
Okay, now, to my recollection, the 700 million is was for the upgrades or to make sure that the emission controls and everything, the upkeep or the operation, to get the operation back up in the standards that EPA deemed was that was needed, and the time frame that you guys allowed was over 20 years. My question then becomes: is the TSEP, which is the supplement environmental projects, are they on that same timeline? And if not, what timeline is that on?
Please press the mute button on your phone or do the *6.
Okay, let me see if I don't know who we're hearing some wind, so in order for us not to hear it, you're gonna have to push the *6. All right.
This is Guy Lavinia, Air Compliance. My understanding of that, the steps were agreed upon, and they're still, I guess,
the territorial steps have not yet been agreed upon between the two parties. The Virgin Islands GPNR and Hovenza need to come to terms with what they actually want to do with the money that's set aside for territorial steps. They have not done that yet. They're supposed to consult with the agency, and they have not yet submitted these projects for us to review and consult with us on. So there's currently $4.85 million, $4.875 million in escrow accounts, and that money will be released once the parties agree upon territorial step that will be implemented. Pat, do you know anything further on that? Michael?
that seems accurate to me.
Okay, okay. So let me make sure I understand. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, I believe somebody joined us. I heard a beep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hi, sorry. It's Tara Murphy. I just joined.
Oh, hi. Hi, Karen. She's one of our lawyers in the Office of Regional Counsel.
Okay, no problem.
Tara was very involved in the CD. Do you have anything to add on that, Tara? On the territorial? In terms of the territorial stuff, I believe Flair had and everything that was. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to add.
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm clear. There really isn't a time frame for when these projects are supposed to get started, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. All right. My last question before I turn to see if my panel needs and have any questions. What was the $250,000 for that the government got? Do you know what that was for?
$250,000. There was the civil penalty. So the $250,000, I believe, is the portion of the penalty that went to USVI,
Right.
the U.S. Virgin Islands government.
Right, but that was just so what? That they were found out of compliance?
Correct. So there was a civil penalty amount in over $10 million. And since there were multiple parties to the action, it was split between the U.S. government and the U.S. Virgin Islands government. The U.S. government got 5.125, and so did